better at mic checks than I am, Martine. Sure. Are you going to do the Priscilla thing where I have to take off my dark glasses? Test, test. We're on, Martine. Yep, we're live. Hey, Grant. Doing great. Good to see you. Oh, good to see you. It's always a pleasure, Grant. Just, you're part of the family. Just make yourself right at home. Ladies and gentlemen, need a little more volume? Hold it up. Ooh, I feel like a rock star now. David, is it, there we go. Too close? Too far? It's like the Three Little Bears. Okay. Aaron, if it were my father, he'd be able to talk over the microphone. Yeah. More volume, more volume. All I do is talk. They're controlling the... Yeah, they're working on it. Not yet. Okay. Are we on again? Okay. Ah, there we go. We have power. I'm giving her all she's got. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming here and being with us today. There's always something special about being on these fields and coming through the clubhouse to me. I've been coming through the clubhouse for 50 years now, and it's always a treat, a wonderful thing. So please enjoy our traditional Holden hospitality, food and drink while you're here, and we'll celebrate Dad. Welcome to all of you, and family and close friends give us comfort and help ease that deep sense of loss we have. While each of us helps the others go through this time of grieving, it really is a time of celebration, a celebration of life for our dad, Ambassador Glen Holden. The schedule for the day will be my remarks, a moment of silence for our horse and rider, and a first round of tributes from friends, a short bar break so we all can refresh our glasses and have something to toast with, and a second round of tributes from friends. Alfonso will now lead the riderless horse to honor a fallen compadre. The boots are turned backward as a sign that the rider is gone and will ride no more. It is a symbol of honor, of shared memories, and a solemn recognition of the loss of one of our great friends. Today we are gathered here to honor and pay tribute to a remarkable man. Georgianne's, Jeannie's, and my father was a force of nature. He touched many, many lives in his 96 years. All of you here today is a testament to that. It is fitting that we are here among those whom he loved and those who loved him in return in what was and is his favorite place in the world, his Polo home for 50 years. If you had read any of the obituaries sent out by the United States Polo Association, Pepperdine University, St. John's Hospital, the Museum of Polo, the Rancheros Visitadores, or others, you have gained an in-depth knowledge of his background, his business career, his many philanthropic interests, his founding of the Federation of International Polo with his good friend Marcos Uranga, his service as an ambassador to Jamaica for 4 years for Presidents Bush 41 and Clinton, and his accomplishments on polo fields here and around the globe. There are too many to recount, and they are much easier to read. I don't need to take time away from the festivities. There are pamphlets in the clubhouse. If you didn't pick one up on your way in, please take one with you. Glen Holden had a fascinating life. What you won't see in these accomplishments and accolades noted in the pamphlet are the ways his life evolved to bring us here today. He was born in Idaho at the beginning of the Great Depression. Grandpa and his brothers were selling the ranches they ran, but my grandmother would relate stories about them playing cowboy polo on the ranches. Real cowboys wouldn't let something like a saddle horn get in the way of having a brisk game. My grandfather rode a polo pony in a 4th of July parade in Boise around 1926, before Dad was born. Dad had been around horses his whole life. He had a pony that he would ride around McMinnville, Oregon. Before he was 10, he took care of the draft horses that farmers traded in for a tractor from Grandpa's farm implement store. Grandpa took them in trade and sold them to loggers who needed strong horses to harvest single-growth old trees by hand in the Cascades, the equivalent of a used horse lot. Dad fed and walked these magnificent animals for their exercise. Somewhere there's a picture of me on the neck of one at 2 or 3 years old. I was too small to span the horse's back. He worked on Harry Clooney's ranch as a teenager. We drove over to it 2 or 3 times when I would drive him around Oregon to see places that he wanted to remember after my mother passed, his nostalgia tours. We walked around and he showed me where the breaking pen was. The opened end still pointed up the steep hill to wear out the young bronchi horses by running them uphill until they could only run in place. He bought his first saddle from the George Lawrence Saddlery in Portland for $140 after a summer of breaking horses on the ranch. He watched the saddle maker cut and tool the leather. The Rancheros Visitadores reminded him of his days on the ranch and the camaraderie of horsemen sitting around a fire telling stories. He lied about his age to join the Navy in World War II, like many teenagers. The war against Japan in the Pacific ended while he was still in boot camp, so he taught swimming to new recruits and played football for the Navy squad. After his discharge, he came back to Oregon and started his college life at the University of Oregon. His sisters, who had quit school to work during the war, and all my uncles-to-be were there as well. He manipulated his way into a fraternity sorority dance so he could meet one of the McClintock twins, and they dated the rest of the time in college. All my aunts and uncles of that generation were ducks. John Merrifield came looking to recruit him one day near the end of his college life, driving a big blue convertible Packard and wearing a vicuna coat, both symbols of a successful businessman. John had one of the largest insurance agencies in the Pacific Northwest. Dad had 2 job opportunities, running the ranch for Harry Clooney or going to Portland to work with John. John pretty much saved my mother. Mom had the option now and said she didn't want to raise a family on a ranch. That was the start of his business career in the life insurance and annuity business. Mom and Dad were married after he graduated from the U of O. They went on their honeymoon driving down to San Diego from Portland. They spent one night at the Miramar, and then another at the Cliff House at Muscle Shoals. Dad woke up early and was amazed that the sun was rising through the bathroom window at the Miramar while he was shaving, something he found hard to believe. The trip was before he started playing polo, so he would have driven by this magnificent club, distracted by our mother, not knowing what the future might hold. Dad's first contact with polo came with his father, my grandfather Arthur, taking him to the dedication and opening day of the Lake Oswego Hunt Club in 1937. When I was 5, 30 years later, he called one of his fraternity brothers, Jackie Flocker, whose family had a big ranch on the Columbia, to see if he could come out and work cattle on weekends. He missed being in the saddle. Jackie told him about this new game he was playing right down the road from our house in Lake Oswego. And the Lake Oswego Hunt Club is where Dad's polo craze started. Dad had a 5-year-old boy that he thought would make a good groom. He first came to Santa Barbara in 1963 to watch the U.S. Open Polo Championship with a contingent of players from the Portland Polo Club in Lake Oswego, where he played at that time. The Portland team was able to play a game in Santa Barbara on these very fields. Tulsa, John Oxley, Ray Harrington, Chico Berry, and Bobby Beveridge played in the Open Finals and won by 1 goal over Vic Graber's local team, the Crescents, who had a great 10-goaler named Charles Robertson Skeen. It's fitting that the finals of the Robert Skeen tournament are being played on this field tomorrow. He and Bob, and my mother Gloria and Bob's wife Elizabeth, were longtime friends, and Bob stayed with us in Lake Oswego when he came to Oregon in the 1960s to give clinics. Dad played polo in Washington, D.C. when we moved there after Oregon, at clubs in Potomac, Fort Belvoir, Reston, Brandywine, and Charlottesville, among others. When we moved to Houston, Will Farish was restarting the Houston Polo Club after a long hiatus at the Bio Club in Memorial Park, and we played in Houston, Dallas at Willow Bend, and in San Antonio at the Old Miller Field and at Breckenridge Park. When we moved to California, Dad played here at Wilson in with the Regrets, and then we'll have another round of them before we finish up. So Lacey Wright, where are you? Here we go. Yeah, stairs on this side. It's easier than climbing over the hedge.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Lacey Wright. My wife and I worked with Glen and Gloria Holden at the American Embassy in Kingston, Jamaica. I was fortunate enough to be his deputy, and my wife worked with Gloria on events for the embassy all during the time that we were there. It was 2 years that we were with the Holdens, and during that time, I learned what an extraordinary, exceptional man Glen Holden was. And when it came time for them to leave, as you can imagine, there were many Jamaicans who wanted to hold events for them. One of them wrote a poem for Glen and Gloria. This man was named Douglas Fletcher, and at this point in time, he was one of the grand old men of Jamaica. He had been Jamaican ambassador to the United States. He was the lead partner in Jamaica's most prestigious law firm. And finally, he had a wonderful sense of humor. The poem that I'm going to read to you will never make it into the literary review, but Glen Holden loved it, and I think you will too. Ambassador Glen Holden, you are the Don. And sure, you and your wife are regarded as one. Anything we say in praise of you must be regarded in praise of her, too. But this will be short and not too long. Ambassador Glen Holden, you are the Don. You have been here many years and did right, not wrong. Now can I say how much we will miss you. I hope that you will miss us too, as we humbly express our view in our song. Ambassador Glen Holden, you are the Don. Your stay was too short and not enough long. You have endeared yourself to all of us. Your leaving will be your country's gain and our loss. And you will take with you the many hearts you have won. And so to you, Ambassador Glen Holden, may the rest of your life be happy and golden. To your wife also. Well, we don't want to cry, so no sad departure or tearful goodbye. I must end now, but I could go on and on. God bless you and take care of you both. As I stop now, though I am loath. Nice, huh?
Thank you, Lacey.
Great, thanks. Thanks.
Chuck Landy, where are you? Chuck is the president of the trustees of the Santa Barbara Polo Club and a long time friend.
Thank you, Jeep. I had the pleasure of meeting Glen in 1981 for lunch with a group of mutual friends. The conversation quickly went to horses and then to polo. When Glen heard that I played, he invited me to come to Santa Barbara. In 1982, I did so and have played here ever since, over 30 years. Glen was one of my sponsors at Rancheros in 1982, and we enjoyed the ride together for over 40 years, and yes, consumed too many Kettle One martinis. We enjoyed a true friendship, which is not common these days. We shared a tremendous love of polo and this beautiful Santa Barbara Polo Club, and naturally, he got me entrenched in the club, and I've enjoyed every aspect of it. Whether we were in the United States, Argentina, or Europe, I was always met with a huge smile and included in his group of friends or he with mine. What a beautiful competitor. He always played to win, never really wanted to befriend a loss. On the polo field, going into a near side back shot, you knew Glen was going to hit the ball and then cross over the line fouling. You knew it was coming, just let it go. That was Glen. Glen was lucky to have a phenomenal partner in all aspects of life. It was always enjoyable to see Glen and Gloria in action. What a team, truly supporting each other in all they did. Many people looked on through the years with envy because that kind of partnership in a relationship is rare. Glen, we miss you, but you're in good hands with our Maker, Gloria, and our family members. Salud.
Thank you. Thank you, Chuck. Jonathan?
Despite what we're here for, it's nice to be here. Can you hear me? And it's nice to see all of you, even those I hated, and those that hated me. To Jeep, Jeannie, and Mike, Glen the Third, and many more. Mr. Ambassador Glen, Ambassador Holden, Mr. Holden, and there's one more that's somewhat unique to me, and that is neighbor. Glen and Gloria and I lived less than 2 miles apart. I'm still there and frequently pass their house on my way home. Frequently at the sign right in front, I stop, I turn my head, and I smile. Glen and I met and first got to know each other here at Santa Barbara Polo Club, mostly fields 1 and 2. It was slow at first, maybe a bit competitive, but in a friendly way. Nice bump, Glen. Hey, thanks. Okay, I'll knock in. After the first Mr. Cecil's California Ribs opened a few years later, things started to progress. He'd come for lunch every now and then, and one day he invited us to host a barbecue lunch here at the club. I think we served close to 200 people that date. As a recent club member and, more importantly, new restaurant owner, it was very exciting and it seemed to work out well. Later in LA, an occasional lunch, even breakfast at my house, and once or twice the occasional cocktail party that Annie and I hosted. It was fun getting to know him apart from polo. But here, especially, the greetings were always warm, friendly, and genuine. If we weren't playing, he was usually in his box, just inside the stands. So nice. Miss you, Glen. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Lovely, lovely words. Matt Richardson. Matt has been on the board of the Museum of Polo with Dad for a long time. Long time. He'll tell you.
Thank you, Jeep. So everybody said, listen, make this quick. I said, you know, when you're talking about Glen, you know, Glen had so many... Oh.
It's up as far as it goes. You just have to speak.
At the top, maybe, hello, 1, 2, 3, okay.
Yeah.
So at any rate, Glen had so many admirable qualities that, you know, you could talk for a long time, and everyone has anecdotes about the relationship with Glen. Let's see, is there... One, two, three, okay. So good afternoon, everyone, especially to the Holden family and of Ambassador Glen Holden. I'd like to express my personal condolences on behalf of Glen's family, whom I've known for almost 40 years, actually. I first got here in about 1982 or so and came to play polo after having been at Will Rogers for a few years in the Equestrian Center. And it was an eye-opening experience. Glen was a powerful force here at that time, and it was always a bit of a role model for me to watch how he and his family actually united basically through the sport of polo. Everybody think of it in terms of being a game who don't know it. People involved in the sport know that it's basically a family sport, and one where your families are probably able to participate and keep your family and the family structure strong. In addition, I bring greetings and condolences from the Museum of Polo. And it was a big factor in Glen's life, as all the other organizations that sustain the sport of polo. The USPA does a lot of good taking care of the administrative aspects, but there are a number of other organizations, such as the Polo Players Support Group, and David is here today, and many of us support that. The Museum of Polo, for those of us who are interested in historical aspects, I was actually recruited to the board back in 1995, 96. I was the governor of the Pacific Coast at that time, attending a meeting in Kentucky. We had, a pretty mobile situation in those days as far as the governors are concerned. You mostly ran the organization out of your back pocket. We have the largest contingency of the 5,000 people or so involved in polo. We had the largest contingency on the West Coast, and Patrick, Brent, Glen, and a few of the other people around the club here suggested that when the opening came that my name be put up in consideration. You have to be voted on by all the other member clubs. And so we would have meetings, USPA meetings all over the country, and Glen was very instrumental in helping me get situated into the politics of polo. It's always politics involved in almost everything, and polo was no exception. And it had to do a lot with historical issues with the East and West Coast, et cetera, and we had a number of local issues we had to take care of. But one of the things that actually in the position of the governor, whereby someone's always picking at you to do this and do that, but I like being picked at by Sue Sally Hale. And so when she would always tell me what the polo community, a lot of weight with it. So we were talking there, and the museum was just not even in existence really. It was a small unit, and we just started talking about various things, and he found out that I had a passion for not only history, but the history of polo. And I was just an avid collector, as I usually am for most things I get interested in. And I collected a lot of memorabilia, ephemera, books, and I bought the first book ever in English in polo by Youngblood. And my one of my condos up there looks like a museum. It has all of the ephemera and all that kind of thing involved in it. So the historical aspects of polo always appealed to me, and I was always involved in that aspect of it with the association. Historically, my own personal journey started. My dad was a country doctor, as it was, but he actually bought a ranch back when I was little that actually belonged to General Sam Houston, who actually owned it at the time. He actually went down to face Santa Ana down at San Jacinto, and there was a Texas Historical Society put a large granite tribute rock there about 6 feet tall, acknowledging what they call Raven Hill, because the Indians actually called Sam Houston the Raven, and they named the ranch after it. We actually put a dairy farm on it and had a lot of horses and cows. We milked, 120 or 30 jerseys, Holsteins, etc. My thought in those days that the best thing you could have would be a good rope and learn to do tie-down roping. Guy I met later on, Joe Beaver, turned out to be one of my, again, heroes, etc. But when I got introduced to polo back in the late 80s, it was a revelation. I could go and wax on and on about what Glen has done for the museum and all the other anecdotes we have about that. But I think I'll end and thank you all very much for your time. And Glen, we hope you rest in peace.
Dad's business career has been well documented in the pamphlet that's available. And Dan Demko was president of the Holden Group for a number of years, worked for Dad in all kinds of different positions before that time. So we have a representative of that side of the life here.
Let's see if I can get up here, Chief.
Watch your step. It's
Thank you.
it's tougher with spurs on.
Yeah, I know. Well, thank you, everyone. And let me start by saying it's an honor to be here, and Jeannie and Jeep and all of their children and grandchildren, and most importantly, all of you, all of his friends. And if you were a friend, that's a verb, I mean, that's a noun. But if you were a friend to Glen Holden, that was not what he considered a noun. You were active. As a friend, it was a verb. So I think you can all appreciate what he had meant to all of us as a friend. I met Glen in 1972, which is about 52 years ago. And we were at my first company convention. And he was president of the company. I was 23. My wife was 22, and we were expecting our son. And in order to get there, you had to qualify. And as you know, Glen didn't hand out participation trophies. That wasn't him. So you had to qualify, you had to get there. So we're there, it's a 3-day, all paid expenses, etc. And Deb is out dancing. And he quietly came over and said, Deb, I think you probably ought to go sit down so you don't have that baby on the floor. So he escorted her over, we sat down. Fast forward 22 years. That unborn child received his diploma from Pepperdine University, 1992. Glen was ambassador at that time, but had been asked to come back and give the commencement speech at Pepperdine. And fortunately, my son that year was graduating. So prior to meeting him, or when he handed him his diploma, he said, Todd, I knew you before you did. So I have a couple of other encounters with Glen, which I know each and every one of you have these wonderfully shared memories. We were going one day, we were headed over to Tallahassee, Florida. And it was our big triad of first case. It was 1980. And we're on the airplane, LA. We had to stop in Memphis and then on to Tallahassee. No, getting to Tallahassee is a feat. But anyway, we had a 2-hour layover in Memphis. And we're sitting there, and he said, there were 3 of us, and he said, y'all ever been over to Graceland? Well, no, I hadn't, Glen. So he said, well, come on, we're going, and got the taxi. We ran through Graceland, saw Elvis's grave, ran back to the taxi, back to the airport, went on to Florida, and ended up securing the state of Florida as one of our bigger and most important business cases where we worked with the employees of the state of Florida. And through that whole process, Glen was able to marry his passion for politics along with his business acumen. And as you know, he was quite the philanthropist. So we picked up Gloria at the house, and we're headed over to St. John's. We're going down Sunset Boulevard. And there in Brentwood was a long line of traffic stopped at a light. And we were in the Glen's beautiful Rolls Royce. And we're in the left lane. I'm in the back seat, Glen and Gloria in the front. Glen pulls out into the oncoming lane, drives all the way to the light, turns left, heads down to the hospital. Gloria turned to Glen and said, Well, you know, Glen, that was not the right thing to do. Very calm. I'm sitting back in the back seat thinking, is my life insurance policies paid up? He turned to her and said, well, you're right, Gloria. That probably wasn't the right thing to do. And the relationship those two had was really, really wonderful. There's so many wonderful memories I have of Glen and what he meant to my family and what he meant to the business community, because he built companies that the first one he was president of, Valak, I think back in 71 when I joined, we had about $200 million worth of assets that our customers had invested in, and we were managing their assets. Fast forward to 2000, I was doing some work with AIG. We bought that same company for $26 billion, and it was based on what Glen had put in place that the value of that company went from basically nothing to $26 billion. So that's just one example of Glen's business acumen. I think, I had the great fortune of Glen escorting me through Washington several times at the White House, first being with President Reagan. So we're sitting on the back patio of the White House on the south portico, and the sun's starting to set. They set the tent up. We go down, Gloria and myself, and the president came down and told about 7 jokes, which were, that was who he was. And it was really sitting there under the stars in the summer with Glen and Gloria and taking this all in. In 2000, Glen rented space in the Fox building downtown, or in Century City, and we were officed right next to the retired President Reagan. And the greatest memory I have of that is at Christmas and all the holidays, his staff would bring in kids and they'd have bands, and Jeep said that they were he was a member of the Rancheros, and their favorite band was Sons of the Pioneers, and that was President Reagan's favorite band. So we're sitting on a Christmas Eve, Christmas week, Sons of the Pioneers are playing, all the little kids are there, and the final song they played was Battle Hymn of the Republic. Glen stood up, the president stood up, and by this time his disease had been, well documented. But he and Glen sang the Battle Hymn of the Republic, and it was fabulous. I mean, how often does someone get that kind of experience? I guess, another opportunity I had to be with Glen, and we traveled. We went down to Argentina to meet with Marcus and Sylvia Ranga and Danielle Gonzalez and his wife, and we were setting up an offshore trust to provide trust services to non-U.S. citizens and health care through the Mayo Clinic. Long story short is, through that company, Glen and I went to places like Bogota, Colombia, Mexico City, Chile, Bermuda, Bahamas, obviously Jamaica, England, and Canada. So not only did I have the opportunity to spend all of this time here in California with him, but also around the world. Let me end with this, that young man that my son now is 52, and he has 2 children, 2 boys. The 9-year-old is Decker Joseph Demko, and my oldest grandson, 11, his name is Holden Daniel Demko. So I get to see Glen and think of Glen every day, and it's only great to have it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you, sweetheart. Hi, everyone. I'm Clarissa. The mic does work if you hold it really, really, really close to your mouth. I'm going to ask for you. Now it's off. Ooh, hold on. Hello? Okay, here we are. All right, I'm going to ask everyone to take a moment and close your eyes. And with your eyes closed, bring the memory back to when you first met Glen. All of you have your own memory of this. Think about the moment, the day you first met Glen, and maybe Gloria too. And then take a few moments to think about all the ways this couple changed your life for the better. And then when you're ready to open your eyes, raise your glass and cheers to Glen and to Gloria.
So the last speaker for our first section is Pat Nesbitt, longtime friend, player here, and one of Dad's chief opponents, because in his office he has a picture of Dad and himself going together on a ball. Pat is smiling and Dad's teeth are gritted and grimacing. Pat?
Thanks, Chief. My relationship with the Santa Barbara Polo Club goes back to 1964. All walking around in our blue uniforms, you can imagine how well when I was in Los Angeles on the 405 freeway in bumper-to-bumper traffic, passing the Wilshire on-ramp. It had a little sports car with the top down. Another little sports car with its top down cut me off. So I laid on the horn. He turned around and flipped me the bird. And I yelled at him. I recognized him. I said, what are you doing cutting me off? He says, I'm late for a match. I said, are you playing tennis? He said, no, I'm playing polo. I said, where are you doing that? He said, Griffith Park. I said, give me your phone number. With that, he grabbed his business card, threw it across a couple lanes of traffic. Next morning, I called him up. I said, what's this polo thing all about? He says, for $25, a pair of cowboy boots and a pair of Levi's, you could jump on a polo pony. So I went out there and did it. It changed my life. My life is completely different from that day forward. I've enjoyed the sport immensely. I've played in 37 foreign countries, played in 36 domestic clubs. And along the way, I got to meet Glen Holden. Glen was a stalwart of the club here, and I came up here to join the club. He welcomed me and so forth, and it was helpful because I was a novice rider, couldn't ride very well. Some would say I probably still can't ride very well, but that's another story. I worked with Glen with the FIP, I don't know, 1986, the FIP had its first Ambassadors Cup, where representatives of all the foreign countries that play polo gathered in Palm Springs to have a tournament. Glen called me up and said, Pat, we got this tournament going on. We need people to house somebody. Can you help us out? Well, I was in the hotel business, so I was able to contact a couple of hotel people I knew, and we arranged for housing for all the delegates that came in. There must be about 40 or 50 of them at the time. And from that, I got my exposure to FIP, and I continued to work with Glen on the FIP for years. I was on the board of directors for a long time. Put my own Ambassadors Cup on in my house. I was also responsible for, with Glen, putting on the World Championship here in Santa Barbara in 1998. All that because my relationship with Glen Holden was as solid and friendly as you could be, and I admired him greatly for all that he was doing for polo and for all the things he helped me do in the sport that I came to love. Glen, we miss you. We'd like to think highly of you. It's a tribute to you and your relationships with all the people you see here today that are supporting you, and thank you for your help. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. We're going to start the next round of remarks and comments in a few minutes. After that, we'll have a toast to Dad. And so if your drink is empty, now is the time to refill it. If your drink is full, time to finish it and get another. So our first comment from the regrets is from Danny Clymer. I'm reading it first because the print is really small on my phone. But it is, Dear Glen, thank you for the beautiful friendship that you and I and Gloria shared, our families together. I loved all of our polo times together. Requiem in peace. Danny. The next one is from Ed Armstrong. Sorry, Jeep, I won't be able to make it. Like hundreds of others, I have fond memories of your parents. I hope to see you on the polo trail at some point. Best, Ed. From Karen Frieden, many of whom you know. I'm sorry that I will be traveling and unable to help celebrate the life of this lovely man and the many contributions he made to the polo community. From Bruce Giffen, I learned a lot from your dad, his passion for living life, navigating through challenges, and getting people to work together for a common goal were just a few of all facets that comprise this amazing man. From Tom Goodspeed, I will not be able to attend your celebration of your father's life. However, I hold such wonderful memories of your parents in my heart. They were both so full of light and always made me feel special upon every interaction. I had the tremendous honor to be a very small part of such illustrious lives. Uplifting is the one word that best describes your father in my memory of him. Tom Gose, I'm so sorry to miss what I know will be a great send-off for your dad. I am proud to have known him, and you, Jeep. Much love to your family. From Bill and Jocelyn Meeker, I loved your dad and mom and consider your dad one of the finest gentlemen I've ever had the privilege of knowing in my lifetime. He was, is, and will remain a legend among his worldwide friends, and I will always cherish the fond memories of the times we shared together. From Danny Melville, I'm unable to attend. Please accept my deepest sympathy for your loss. Polo aside, Ambassador Holden made a difference in my country, Jamaica, where he spent 4 years and was loved and respected. Glen, it was an honor to have known you. Danny. Pam Mitchell, I am so sorry I will not be able to attend. I know that he and Jim will be watching from above and will understand. From Ginny Orthwine, I will be out of the country. Such a celebration of life you will have, I know. So many wonderful FIP trips Steve and I had with Gloria and Glen. My thoughts and prayers with all. Carla Petrozelli, Jeep, as I mentioned to you already, it is with deep regret that I will not be attending this memorial for your dear dad. How I wish I was well enough to say a proper goodbye to my dear, dear friend. I know it will be a beautiful day. Bless you for planning this deserving honor. Much love, Carla. From Cindy and Joe Sapienza, so saddened to hear that your family has lost both Gloria and the ambassador in the short 4 years since we moved to North Carolina. Sorry we cannot be there to help celebrate a very special couple, My sympathy to you and your family. Fondly, Cindy. And Tricia Sonsini, so sorry for your family's loss. Your father was an outstanding man, and I feel blessed to have spent time with your parents. I wish you and your family all the joy the world holds. Love and hugs, Tricia. And finally, from Chuck Weaver, Jeep, you lived under the roof of a legacy. I cannot imagine the things you learned watching him for years, because I learned so much when I only had the opportunity to watch him for minutes. He was the ultimate ambassador, leader, thought leader, gentleman, friend. Blessings to your family. Now we'll have our second round of remarks. So Dave Offen, if you're around the bar area, I see him. Dave is the founder and the chief cheerleader for the Polo Players Support Group, some of whom you've actually helped in this crowd. Dave?
Thanks, Jeep. And Jeep and family, congratulations on putting together such a wonderful celebration for your dad. I know he's looking down and would be very proud and happy to see everybody here. Yeah, Jeep, but you mentioned, I don't know if Rob Walton, I read Rob Walton was supposed to be here, but I haven't seen him yet. But FD is here, and Rob had a terrible accident in '95 and has been a quadriplegic ever since. And Rob, that terrible accident was the impetus for a group of us to start helping Rob a little bit for a few years, and then recognized that there would probably be a lot of other players and grooms in our polo family that would need help from serious injuries or illnesses. So we formed a 501c3, and since inception in 2001, we have awarded over $3.5 million to 116 different individuals. So I know there's a lot of people in the crowd here that have been very generous supporters, and we thank you. And unfortunately, due to the nature of polo, we're going to continue to have others that need our help. So very grateful for your continued support. And Glen and Gloria and Jeannie and Mike and Jeep, the whole Holden family were one of our most wonderful supporters and still are. And we are very, very grateful for you guys thinking of us today, along with the Museum of Polo and Hall of Fame as beneficiary charities in memory of Glen. Everybody that's been up here has talked about Glen and Gloria and what a wonderful marriage. It is very enviable. Glen was a great role model in all aspects of life, and I've talked to a few people, and everybody agrees. How could you name anyone who lived life better than Glen? He most kind, generous, humble guy, and I have just a couple of stories of Glen. The first one, about 30 years ago, Luis Escobar called me. He was playing here with Guillermo Cassette, and Guillermo got hit in the eye. And I was in Toronto. It was midnight, and Luis said, "Dave, we need you here for a game at 3 or 4 o'clock the next day." So I went, packed my bags and mallets, and I got here. And I had never met Glen, but after the game, Glen came over personally. He didn't send the manager or assistant or anybody. He personally came over. He had found out that some guy from Canada showed up to take Guillermo's place, and Glen and Gloria were hosting an engagement party for Mariano Gonzalez and his fiance, and Glen came over personally to invite me, and I've never forgotten that. And when the other lady that was up here said to close your eyes and think of the first moment you met Glen, I had already thought of that moment and planned on telling this little story. So that's, that has always stuck with me, what kind of a guy Glen Holden is. The other story was about 3 or 4 years ago. Jeep brought his dad to Florida for the U.S. Open in April, and it's about 90 degrees and hot. And I happened to have I put an umbrella up in the back of my pickup truck, and I invited Glen to come up. I told him we'd have a seat in the pickup under the umbrella for him. And here's a guy in his early 90s, walks up to the truck, grabs the corner of the bed, puts his foot on the bumper, and pulls himself up. And we all just look like, wow, how amazing is that? So, Glen, congratulations on living life to the fullest. And long before there was a country song, Glen was always humble and kind.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Dave. We have a very special guest from Jamaica here today, Wayne Jobson. And it's really a great tribute that Wayne came all this way to have some remarks for Dad. You have to hold the mic real close to your mouth.
Hey, thanks a lot. Hello, I'm Wayne Jobson from Jamaica, and I was honored and blessed to meet Ambassador Holden many years ago when he was the ambassador to Jamaica. And I used to go to parties at the residence, and we stayed in touch through the years. It was really sad to lose him. A few years ago, I was applying for my green card to America. I'm a music producer, so I got letters from all the musicians that I work with, like Jimmy Buffett and Daryl Hall and John Oates and Ziggy Marley and Gwen Stefani and No Doubt. But all the immigration people said, these are just crazy musicians. So I said, well, I also have a letter from Ambassador Glen Holden. They said, Ambassador Glen Holden, welcome to America. Here's your green card. So I was so honored to, that Glen was so helpful, and I'm forever eternally blessed to him. Anyway, I just came up from Jamaica, and I was with the Prime Minister of Jamaica a week ago, and he gave me this letter to read on his behalf. Message from the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica. Tribute to Glen A. Holden. Glen Holden is revered as a man set apart from the great men of his time. His spirit of selflessness and commitment was exemplary, and his personal commitment to diplomatic affairs well known indeed. Glen Holden was a well-respected ambassador of the United States of America to Jamaica, 1989 to 1993. As a beloved adopted son of the Jamaican soil, Ambassador Holden tirelessly lobbied for Jamaica and Caribbean affairs to his colleague, policy members, and decision makers. Even after his completion of his tour of duty, his dedication to Jamaica never ended. This is etched in the body of work and significant impact that Ambassador Holden has had in several sectors and charities. For instance, he spent 14 years as chair of American Friends of Jamaica, which has left an indelible impression in diplomatic relations. Ambassador Holden's work was transformational in several priority areas for both countries, including trade, security, education, youth, and diplomacy. Through his efforts, significant initiatives in safety and security were developed. The true heart of a champion, Ambassador Holden.
No, some more speeches. There are a lot of people that want to make remarks. Keep losing my drinks up here. Yep. Holly, how are you? I'm well, thank you. I can't do the Mick Jagger thing. He puts the mic down his pants. We got you up, I think, next, FD.
Okay. My mom's sorry she can't be here.
Oh, well, she's probably busy, right?
Yes, she's
As always.
busy. Hi, I'm Ali.
Ollie Alstrand, FD Walton.
FD Walton, nice to meet you.
FD was a player on Dad's team that won the Pacific Coast Open.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Chip. I'm Daniel Gonzalez.
Yes, yeah.
How are you?
Paco,
Paquito.
Paquito, yeah.
Gonzalez.
I know who you are.
Daniel wanted to say some words.
Yes, he will.
I.
Yeah, we're moving through.
So
we had a
He
request
was
that.
wondering if he was on the list or not. So.
No, of course he's on the list. He's last.
He's last.
Yeah. Hello, JB.
Exactly.
How are you?
Nice to see you.
Good seeing you. Yeah.
See what a lovely tribute this is, and
Oh,
doing a great
thank you.
job.
Yeah, yeah.
Not easy.
Yeah, no, it isn't. JB, this was Paquito de Narvaez, the grandson of Daniel Gonzalez, and this is FD Walton, JB Balch. Yes.
First of all, you know that I used to be the chairman and stayed on the board of the hospital, and that's because of Glen.
Uh-huh.
If you need anything from St. John's,
Right.
Jeannie, you call me.
Okay.
That's
Yes,
what I wanted to say.
absolutely.
Okay, you take
Yeah.
good care.
I will.
But I wanted to make sure,
No.
and I made your father proud to be the chair.
Right.
And I was the chair for 2 years, and
Right.
he came to one of my events.
Oh,
and all our
wonderful.
meetings take place in the Glen Holden.
Yeah.
The Glen Holden meeting room. Order.
Yeah.
Okay?
No, that's
so we're
perfect.
thinking of him all the
Yeah.
time.
No,
Okay.
I'll have to drive down to Los Angeles. We'll go get lunch.
Come, please.
That'd
I will be
lovely.
very honored. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
You take care. Okay.
No, I will.
I'll watch you and listen to you, but wonderful. Okay. Take care.
Thank you, Roger. Hello, Lance.
Jeep. Great event.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. This is fun. Great to have everyone here. Hi, Brittany. How are you? Pardon me, I can't juggle my hat, microphone, and a drink.
Eric.
Hi, Eric. How are you? Nice to meet you.
Congratulations on this. This is amazing.
Yeah.
You ought to get a professional hat holder to stand behind you.
That's right.
I'm okay with the drink and the hat, JB, but the microphone, I haven't been able to figure it out.
Yeah, one too many.
I keep leaving my drink up there and then walking off. There are worse things. It's tough to find a bar around this place.
I've noticed that. I know exactly.
I was going to ask you, is Ashley here?
Yeah.
To say, you know where she is?
She's probably over in that group over there, Brittany.
Okay.
The young lady with the black dress and the white hat is my daughter-in-law, Chloe.
Oh, okay.
So she'll be somewhere right around there.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I wanted to say hello.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
See you.
Do you want to announce that the boutique is open for your family
Yeah,
to
let's-
shop? It's up to you because they keep asking.
Yeah, let's do that.
It's already, we have it open already for them to go. So
Okay.
wanna
Yeah,
announce
let's
it?
do that.
Okay.
1986.
What's playing next door?
John Hughes, who is a polo player from Dallas, but used to be Hicks, Muse, and Haas. Now he's on his own. They kind of split up, but he bought the property and was talking to a fellow who was an architect, and the architect wanted to partner with him and put in some money when he bought the property, and then they hired Chuck to do the development.
Gee, it's Bart.
Hey, Bart,
How are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Your
Yeah.
pops is a cool dude.
Hi,
man.
Jeep. How
Yeah.
are you?
Nice to see
that
you.
was
See
lovely.
if we can get our hats
Yeah.
under
Yeah.
together.
Get
That
you on the
was
court.
lovely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen you down there on the ball machine on court.
Yeah.
What is it, 4?
Yeah. Yeah, I need a little more exercise, Bart, so I'll
Give us
I'll
a call.
get back. Yeah.
Give us a call.
JB, this is Stephanie Stone and Bart Hiller, who are tennis professionals here at the club.
How's it going?
JB is a longtime friend and the general manager of the Rancheros Visitadores.
Oh, all right. They've been around
My
forever.
son and daughters are both members
Hey,
of the club.
Randy.
too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
great.
What's her name?
Jamie Collins.
Okay. I don't.
Okay, I'm back on duty.
He runs Girls Inc. in Maria.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we're back on duty, and we have some more remarks. Monica did want me to announce that they are opening the boutique. So, if there are any items that you really want that say Santa Barbara Polo and Racket Club down at the boutique, a little closer. Okay. All right. I do feel like a rock star now. Arr. Yeah, so the boutique is now open and ready for all of your purchases. Our next speaker is F.D. Walton, a longtime friend. We don't want to even say how long, do we, F.D.? But one of the teammates my father had on the 1986 Pacific Coast Open team. F.D.?
Hello, my name is F.D. Walton. I'm from Modesto, California. It feels like air conditioned here in Santa Barbara. Just had a big heat wave in Modesto, about 112 degrees. This is really a pleasant vacation here. But I always loved Glen Holden for his energy, his enthusiasm, and he was always so inspired when you talked with him. He was a great guy. I want to thank the Holden family for having me on their Pacific Coast Open team. And we won it that year with my good friend Daniel Gonzalez over here. That was a lot of fun. And he played with his son Martin and Glen and I. That was a great summer. I just have a little story to tell you about Glen, Gloria, and me. We were down in Mexico. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? You got to kiss this thing, don't you? Yeah, I can tell you what, man. But anyways, I want to tell you a little story about Glen and Gloria and me. We were in Mexico. We were in the preliminaries of the Federation. And one night I came back late to the hotel, and on the second story, I walked down and I opened up the door, and I thought it was my room, but it was Gloria's and Glen's. And they're in bed watching TV. And they go, Glen, like he is, you know, how energetic he goes, "Hi, FD." And he goes, I go, "Sorry, wrong room." And he goes, "No, it isn't. Jump in bed with us." And I said, "That's okay, Glen." But he was so good-spirited about things, you know. They left the door open. They didn't lock the door, so I just barged in, you know. But it was funny. But I always liked Glen, too. Glen was, you know, one of a kind. He was a great doer in life. He's one of those guys that could get a whole lot done. And on the other side of it, he was a great giver. Glen loved to give. Glen was very generous. And every one of us here, he would take his shirt off his back for. But I want to thank the Holdens for all what they've done for Polo. And we're certainly going to miss Glen Holden. Thank you.
Thank you, FD. Finally found a place to stash my hat. Margarita Fairbanks, come on up. Thank you. This will add a lot.
I hope so. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. If anybody knows me, I like to be heard when I speak. And today is particularly important because we're here for Glen. A lot of you may know that I had a recent mega misfortune, and honestly I was so excited to come to the service today, and we pulled in the driveway and I looked over at my husband and I'm like, "Honey, we're going to see everybody." And I hadn't even thought of that because I was thinking about Glen. But it's just good to see everybody and remember that this really is a family. So what I would like to share with you now is a letter that I wrote to Glen on his 75th birthday, which was 23 years ago. So I hope you feel it the way I wrote it. And I didn't change it. I'm going to read it as if I read it in that time. To Glen, on this, your birthday, to the biggest fish in the pond, to one person I can think of to whom the world has definitively and resoundingly been his oyster, even his caviar, to a role model in every way. As a husband who, with his amazing wife, created a realm that could only be likened to a kingdom. Your kind of success is that which comes only to those with great ability, great scope, and great strength, all of which you possess in great abundance. You are a father figure, not just to a few, but to many. It is incredible to realize how many lives will have been touched by you through your endless endeavors and travels. There is a stature about you that none would or could deny, and which so many look up to. In another time, you would have been one of our founding fathers, no doubt. You are a true leader, someone to look up to aspire to, and to admire. Of course, it should be mentioned that the very strength that manifests itself in your success must absolutely be accompanied by a strong bicep. You can no doubt be as tough as nails, which in the end is the very thing that anyone with metal finds appealing in you. This brings me to my next point, that combined with this ability to take charge and make things happen is also an amazing accessibility. You are a friend to all. Who hasn't heard your unmistakable laugh resonating through the air and all the heart and warmth that embodies it? If someone you knew were to find themselves in a room with masses of people they didn't know, what could be better than to hear your laughter floating across the airwaves, signaling a friend? And quite literally, your voice and your laughter, your warmth and your stature have been known all around the world. I can just imagine what size your name and address book are. You have friends who feel just the way I do all over the globe. So Glen, I am happy to be able to tell you what a fine man you are. A leader, a husband, a father, a friend, many things to many people. It is a big job to be you, and you do it with grace, style, charm, and endless enthusiasm. I've known you for most of my life, Ambassador, and I am proud to know you and consider myself your friend. Happy birthday, Glen, and I look forward to enjoying your company for a long time to come. I wrote this to Glen 23 years ago, so you can imagine that we had this many more years together. What I want to leave you with about Glen Holden is that here is a man with the kind of class that we don't even see anymore. He met every person, and I saw this after 50 years.
I love my dad. Everyone who knows me knows that he was the second most important man in my life. He started being the first most important man in my life. I miss him every day. I grew up here at the Santa Barbara Polo Club. I was 13 when we started coming here. I'm now 65. Whoa, I get Medicare. I see people here that I've known all my life. Rolando, thank you for being here. Sergio, Alfonso Giannico, you are my life. So I spent a lot of time with my dad, towards the end of his life. I worked for him for 44 years. My fondest memory was on April 17th. Every little girl wants to marry their dad, a guy like their dad. How can you marry a Glen Holden? He's bigger than life. I didn't know it, but I married a guy just like my dad. He has integrity. He loves his family. He loves me. And Michael Scheller, thank you. Thank you. That's about it, guys.
Thank you, Jeannie. Next, we have Richard Khalil. Again, longtime friend and been on the International Committee for the USPA and then one of the ambassadors for the Federation of International Polo.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Jeep. It's an honor to be here today to speak about our good friend and, of course, your father. I've been asked to speak about Glen's involvement with international polo. His involvement was quite extensive, and I will try to be brief about organizing it. Okay, is that better? Sorry. We have to get a better microphone or I have to get a bigger voice, one of the two. Anyway, his involvement in international polo was very extensive. The Federation of International Polo was formed in 1982 by Glen and Marcos Uranga in Argentina. They worked very hard to establish an international network of polo federations. Today, that organization represents 86 countries throughout the world and is recognized by the International Olympic Committee as the formal representative body for the sport of polo. So their efforts were well successful. Glen served as president of the International Federation, which we call FIP for shortness, from 1997 to 2006. And during that time, in 1997, was when he was able to get recognition by the International Olympic Committee for the sport of polo. Following that, I had the privilege of working with him to establish the rules for the World Anti-Doping Agency for the sport of polo and to represent the sport to the International Committee for 17 years. I worked very closely with Glen during that time as I served, and it was a privilege and an education. His effect in establishing that organization and fellowship throughout the world has resulted in an extensive network of international friendship in polo. It has resulted in 12 world championships, which have been played all over the world and will continue to be played. There will also be an exhibition match during the Olympic Games in Paris, and in 2 weeks we will play the United States against France in an exhibition match. And that, of course, is a tribute to all of his efforts. Furthermore, I believe that we will have an exhibition match in the Winter Olympics in Cortina, Italy, in snow polo as well. So in short, his effect has been worldwide and long-standing. It was a privilege to work with him. And a slight anecdote might be, one time in Argentina, he was supposed to play in a tournament, and I wasn't scheduled to play, and he asked me to play for him. And I said, Glen, I didn't bring my things. So he said, don't worry, I'll give you my boots and my helmet. Well, his boots were too big, and I should have known that they're too big for most people. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. We have two more folks that we'd like to talk up here and give their remarks. One is Jim Harris, who's in our camp in the Rancheros Visitadores.
Good afternoon. First, I want to thank Jeep for inviting me to talk. Glen was an amazing man, and I'm privileged to be here today. Glen was a member of Rancheros Visitadores for 45 years. Rancheros is a group of almost 1,000 horsemen. It's dedicated to the horse and to fellowship. I knew Glen through Rancheros for 42 years, and he is one of the amazing men that I was able to meet because of Rancheros. He was an imposing figure with a commanding voice, but around the campfire he was not Ambassador Holden or Mr. Holden. He was Glen, and he took an incredible interest in the other people around the campfire, in their lives, and then how to make the ride better. The Rancheros ride is in May. Our camp has a ride in the fall with our wives, and it's usually at a ranch somewhere in California. But one year, we decided maybe we ought to do something international. Someone got the idea, let's go to the Camargue in France, and let's ride ponies in the delta of the Rhone River, in those marshes. Well, that 2004 ride turned out to coincide with the 7th World Cup of Polo, and so we ended up having not only a ride in the Camargue, but in the Chantilly Forest, and then attending the games, the matches for that World Cup. Between the semifinals and the finals, there was a day off, and Glen was having a meeting of the International Polo Federation at the hotel. An urgent fax came in, and somebody at the hotel asked me to deliver it to him. And I took it into this majestic conference room where Glen was having the meeting, and I figured I'd get a smile and a nod when I handed him the paper and I could leave. He stopped the meeting. Hello? Shutting off? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay. He didn't just turn and glance. He stopped the meeting. He stood up, and he took me around and introduced me to all the members of the board. And I think that tells you that Glen's great success was because he built friendships, he brought people together, set a course of action, and then he got things done. It was a pleasure to know him, and I hope all of you who are with Rancheros who are here today feel the same way. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Always wonderful to hear great stories, and the business and Rancheros and the Polo Club all kind of flowed together in Dad's life. We have one final speaker who is a world-renowned polo player, 9-time winner of the Argentine Open, 1-time winner of the Pacific Coast Open, and a very, very dear friend of both Mom and Dad and our family. He's warming up. Okay, Danielle Gonzalez.
You know, I should like to have the opportunity to speak in Spanish.
Well, speak in Spanish.
No,
Yeah.
because nobody's going to understand. I will speak in English, and
All right.
I will make some mistakes.
Or both. You have to hold the mic very close to your mouth.
No, but I will do.
Okay.
I will try to do it. Well, my friends, I'm very happy to have the opportunity to say goodbye to my friend Glen. I really feel very sad, but I thank to have the opportunity. I'm going to say a few words, because if I have to mention all the wonderful opportunities and events we lived together, probably, during many years, probably will take a week. Here, well, thank God you didn't hear the first part. You are lucky. Well, as you know, I have been close to Glen. I met Glen in 1980, and after that I have been with him, practically part of my family and his family all together. We have been playing polo during 40 years, not only here in Santa Barbara with Marcos Uranga. Glen and Marcos were organized the federation, the Polo Federation, and we play all our in Chile, in Argentina, in Ascochinga, where, Ascochinga is the place of Marcos Uranga, a very nice place. In Tiger Wood. No, not Tiger Wood, no. Tiger's Top. We landed there and we played in Elephant Polo and many other places like China, all around the world. And of course here in Santa Barbara, which is our place in the world. We know every person has a place in the world. Well, Glen and myself, we have this as a place in our world because it's such a nice. I call this part the paradise in one opportunity, and everybody wrote about that later. I'm talking about 30 or 40 years ago, not today. And I think it's the best place in the world. Through Glen and Gloria and all my family learned to love America because we come from Argentina, unknown place. And we love America like I have a son that is American citizen too. Everybody wants to be part of America, as you know. I want to thank Gloria and Glen for all we have received from them. And I'm sure that I'm going to see Glen very soon because yes, everybody knows that. And for me and for my family, Santa Barbara without Glen is different. Doesn't exist. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniela Gonzalez. What wonderful, warm, and heartfelt remarks. We are at the very end of our afternoon in terms of the speakers, not in terms of the enjoyment